Hello everyone, it's Joseph Dunphy here, and this is your weekly Grass10 grazing management update on the dairy edge. Pasture-based data for the week: the average farm cover is sitting at 798 kilos dry matter per hectare, and the cover per livestock unit is sitting at 212. Growth rates are up to 77 kilos, demand is sitting at 57 kilos, and the diet currently being offered is 15 kilos of grass and 3.5 kilos of meal. Pre-grazing yield for the last 7 days is 1522. Dry matter percentages recorded are 17% in Moorpark, 22% in Grange, 19% in Johnstown Castle, and 18% in Athenry. Grass growth predictions are expected to be strong again for the coming week at between 65 and 85. Soil temperatures are expected to be in the region of between 11 and 12 degrees. Predicted rainfall amounts are variable, with Met Éireann unsure whether 20 to 25 millimetres of rain will come in across the country over the coming weekend. The spell of weather we are having at the minute is exceptional and has allowed reseeding to take place on farms, and cows and heifers are all content as breeding season gets underway. However, the super weather has and will bring grazing management issues that we'll need dealing with on farm over the coming week. Growth rates are well above normal with the phenomenal weather we are currently experiencing and have increased to 77 kilos on dairy farms. Predicted growth rates have indicated that they will still be high at 65 to 85 per day over the next week. When we dig into the pasture-based figures, they inform us that most farms throughout the country are in a surplus grass situation at the minute of greater than 200 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit. Excess grass supply must be tackled immediately. Grazing high grass covers of greater than 1,500 kilos of dry matter per hectare will have a negative effect on cow performance, grass recovery, and cleanouts. If excess grass supply is not tackled, sward quality will be poor for the remainder of the season and will require other forms of mechanical intervention. Learnings from previous years informs us that these paddocks in surplus grass must be removed immediately before stem arrives so as to speed up the return to the grazing rotation. So how are we going to deal with surplus grass during May? Going to need to walk the farm every 5 days. Pre-grazing yield above 1,400 kilos of dry matter per hectare is a strong indicator of surplus grass on farm, so keep an eye on this. We want post-grazing heights to be 4 to 4.5 centimetres, which is a residual of 50 to 100 kilos of dry matter per hectare. Higher pre-grazing yields above 1,400 will result in higher post-grazing heights of 5 centimetres plus. So this is meaning that there's 200 to 250 kilos of dry matter per hectare being left on paddocks. So keep an eye on this. Cover per livestock unit above 200 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit is also a strong indicator of surplus at the minute, and current pasture-based data supports this with 60% of farms above this figure. We must act immediately. We have a cohort of farms that are at 250 to 260 cover per livestock unit. This must be brought down to under 200 immediately. Growth rates are much higher than demand, leading to huge increases in average farm cover. This week, for example, if we have a growth of 77 and demand of 57, that means there's 140 kilos put on our average farm cover per week. Average farm cover target should be 6 to 700 currently, and when we look at pasture-based data, it's at 798. When we look at our wedge on pasture-based Ireland, the demand line should be set for a pre-grazing at 1,400 kilos dry matter per hectare. So if there's too many paddocks above the demand line, these should be removed. We can also increase demand on the farm at the minute by reducing the meal feeding, taking out another paddock for reseeding, remove the paddocks for surplus bales, or bringing back heifers to the main grazing platform. So it's important to remove surplus immediately this week and get paddocks back into the grazing rotation. It's also important to review the N, P, K and sulphur spread to date. For farms with an allowance of 212 kilos of N per hectare, they should have spread 100 kilos of N per hectare or 80 units per acre to the 1st of May. For heavy soils, this is 20 kilos back at 80 kilos of N per hectare or 60 units of N per acre. Most farms that are above the 170 kilos of N per hectare stocking rate should be applying 20 units per acre at the minute, so 25 kilos of N per hectare of a protected urea plus sulphur type product. Assess clover contents before reducing N application. Paddocks with good clover contents require 20% or higher before we reduce fertiliser at the minute. This week's featured farmer is Raymond Niblock from Scott's House, County Monaghan. He's milking 92 cows. Current diet is 16 kilos of grass and 4 kilos of meal. The cows are currently milking 30.5 litres at 3.94 fat and 3.56 protein. On the fertiliser piece, he's currently following the cows with a half a bag of protected urea after grazing, so 23 units per rotation. His average farm cover is sitting at 623. His growth is at 99 and demand is at 50. His cover per livestock unit is at 188 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit. When I asked Raymond how is he dealing with the surplus grass at the minute, he says we've baled 4 paddocks here in the last week to keep on top of the pre-grazing yield. Covers of over 800 to 1,000 are grown in front of his eyes, so he's walking every 5 days to keep on top of the situation. Raymond was one of the hosts of our reseeding events last week in County Monaghan. He plans on disking the paddock in question early next week after some drainage work is completed. If you'd like to hear more from the Grass10 team, subscribe to the weekly Grass10 newsletter, which is available on the Grass10 page on the Teagasc public website, and the link to the newsletter is also available in the description of this podcast. We'd also like to thank the sponsors of the Grass10 campaign, AIB, Grassland Agro, the Department of Agriculture, FBD and the Farmers Journal. This has been your Grass10 update, and I'll talk to you all next week.